I grew up in Wilmington, right? 20 minutes up the road. My whole life is watching him as a teenager. So this is not only just like, oh, it's my DJ. No, this is my direct, like, I want to be him.
There you go.
And ever since I've met him and known him, he's known it, right? Like, so it's you get over the, oh, I met my hero dude, and then your hero's actually cool. Like, I've met a couple that are like, okay, I just like your music, you know what I'm saying? But him, it was like, how can I help you? Go, what do you need? Da, 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 da. Every time I'm across the world, he has a part, the embrace of your idol to a certain degree. And then the way that he brings everybody else together, the biggest thing is he puts everybody in this spirit of collaboration, share with everybody. There's no egos. There's a world-class Grammy engineer getting taught left-handed scratches from Mel. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, he's gonna turn around and be like, "Go, how do I make my kick stronger?" So it's just like, it's really dope, no matter what level, because everybody does everything. So sometimes as a DJ or whatever, you don't want to humble yourself. There's no other, I was saying, there's no other place in the world where, like, as I'm trying to practice and learn to scratch, Rich Medina's literally coming over and moving my forearm.
I guess your name comes from
from teaching.
Your activity as a teacher.
All the women in my family are teachers. It was bug, but I got caught back when Tommy Hilfigers were hot in hip hop, right? I stole some Tommy Hilfigers out the mall, got caught, had to do community service. Ended up teaching African history at this place right up the road called People's Settlement, the community center. And it was just, that was the bug. It was like I started teaching and seeing that I could affect people, or that I understood learning styles. So some of those things that I saw in the neighborhood where a teacher would be like, oh, this kid is unteachable. It's like, no, you don't know his style. Some kids are visual. They will not get it until you actually draw it on the chalkboard. Some kids, you got to just give them the book, step away from them for 2 days and let them just read and absorb, figure out their questions. Some kids got to physically touch something to learn. So it's like me analyzing different ways, and I just get a lot of joy out of when I show my students something, and you can physically see the light bulb go off in their head, and they're like, oh, I got it. And then they're so talented, they take it to a level that, I would have never thought. So teaching is something I know that it gives me a lot of enjoyment, and I get to do it without the negative side of teaching with the low. I'm not worried about the pay. I'm just worried about making things better.
Talk about the process of becoming a teacher at an institution.
What happened is I saw around 2010, I came outside for the first time in about 15 years. A lot of people look at me or my career and they're like, oh, you did all these records. I was like, yo, I was literally in the same room day after day after day for 15 years. My world was that studio. You come outside and it's like all these kids now are like, oh, gee, and I'm like, what? It's weird. So I started doing these speaking engagements because I was like, the studios are leaving, people's music is sounding horrible. There's really some like basic 10 little quick tips I could tell you. You're not gonna be an engineer, but at least I can keep you keeping the vocals out of the red. Like at least do that. So I just started speaking at a bunch of different like universities. Some of the companies I was dealing with, were bringing me on to speak. And not only were people like, yo, you speak very clearly, you have a way of getting across the idea, I was surprising myself in terms of when people are asking questions, how to break certain things, that it came so natural. Long story short, I did one of those at USC. I did this program called Masterclass, where I was just teaching a bunch of quick 2-hour engineering, like an intro to engineering. USC was like, "Cool, man, we need that as a program here." So they engaged me, and what made it interesting was that they not only wanted me to teach the class, they came in and said, well, can you help us redefine our curriculum? And it's really weird to see somebody that is honest about where they are. So the Thornton Music School goes, hey, Berkeley's #1. We know that. We get it. We're here. How do we get here?
Yeah.
When you analyze yourself from that real position of not lying and saying, oh, we're better than, we know this is the benchmark of where I'm trying to take my program. When you operate from that perspective, it's a reality check, and you really get to see where the holes are and fill in all those holes. So that's sort of how it all started. And then I just love the campus. I love the students. Getting to flip every year, meet a whole new group of students, watching students complete projects, go out in the world and release projects, dealing with stuff that's outside of. I have a grassroots kid that's like he's into blues and just like, he just sits there with a guitar and writes songs. And it's some of the best music I've ever heard. You know, and he doesn't want, it's not the, yo, let me take you and expand you to put you over drums and electronic and we can sell, no, he just, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And it's like, that becomes some of the purest things. Like, I just love it. I love teaching.
So as a young kid, did you find that that you were a coachable or teachable student?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I absorbed everything. And again, I always operate from that honesty standpoint of, I can't do that. How do I learn how to do that? That's an engineer's thing. Curiosity is, how does that work? How do I figure that out? When you're sitting in front of a VCR, you just something about it goes, how does this work? How does tape go across? And you just take a screwdriver and you start, opening stuff up and you shock yourself a couple times and then you figure, you like, who can teach me how to do it? You go find mentors that are like, you learn from everybody, so being coachable is the biggest thing. Again, like I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't stop and take the time to learn from people that knew it better than me. But I humble myself to interject myself into their world in their way when I'm learning. Tony Maserati is probably one of my biggest influences of somebody I was directly in the room with. Like say a Bob Power, who I worship, right? My learning from him is from listening to his records. I was never in the room with Bob Power. Tony Maserati, I'm in the room with him, but I'm watching the way he works and I'm silent. And I'm just noticing what he's doing. I may ask a couple questions, but I don't want to interrupt what he's doing. But he taught me more than any book. Or the way I even got in the room with him is observing. I'm watching, he smokes a certain type of cigar. First day, I'm like, all right, cool. Next day, I have a box of those cigars sitting on the, he's like, who bought those? I'm like, I did. He's okay. That quick, we struck the relationship. So just so I can pick the information that you have and apply it to what I'm doing, and not being afraid to give credit to where you got it from. I turn my NS10s up and it bounces off the board better for me because Tony does that. And he's like, ooh, you're taller, right? So having the NS10s this way, you're missing the upper frequencies. And he taught me to think of music in terms of frequencies moving from my feet to my head. So like the bass and all that is down here and it moves up into the highs this way. So I'm doing a spectral, like physical visualization of music, Those are the things that I pick up from people because Chucky Thompson told me one day, he took me and he was like, man, I'm almost scared to introduce you to Puff. He's like, because he's going to steal you from him. I'm like, I'm not going to let him do that. You know what I'm saying? Number one. But he's like, he's the one who sat me in the room with a lot of the top white rock engineers. And he was like, if you learn what they learn, you'll be way better than them because they can't learn what you know. He's like, you innately have this shit. Just learn their technical part of how to get it to where you know the sound. They don't know 808s. They don't know drum breaks. They don't know what we're going after. But they got the technical part of how to get there. So that's just been my whole thing, man, of always humbling yourself, never feeling like you're too big for anything. I think me having certain amount of success or being around people with success early allowed me to see it's not that big of a deal. You didn't sell more records than the Fugees. That was my very first tour.
Right.
Was the Ready or Not tour.
Yeah. So you'd already had that experience. So let's take it back there. Let's take it back to what was the moments before Nonchalant? What was it like just trying to get on? So
hectic. Years and years and years. The normal thing. I went to Howard in '92. You develop relationships. There's crews. I'm with Tracy Lee, all of those people. Eric Roberson is walking around campus, writing songs. All of us were there. Shy was there. Just a bunch of people writing songs, making great music, and fighting to try to get out, right? Back then it was, let's get signed or whatever. We felt a certain way because we would make music. We'd send it to Puff, and then next week, Mary got the same sample. We'd make another song, and we send it to Puff, and next week, this one got the same sample. It was weird, but that was our connect. That's all we had. So my stress came from '96. I'm 22 years old. I'm working at the Marriott and doing parties, right? The front desk at the Marriott at 9 o'clock in the morning after getting out of party at 4 o'clock, right? I'd go straight to work, sleep in one of the rooms, and then wake up, put my suit on. That day, my car breaks down. I had the old OJ, the white Bronco. Car breaks down. I'm late to work for the third time. my employer does the same thing of letting you work that day, but I'm gonna fire you at the end of the day. And during that day, the girl that I just met a month ago was like, yo, I'm pregnant. So I lose my job, my car, and I have a baby on the way, all in the same day. It was like this huge turning point. I'm 22. So I'm like, yo, what am I gonna do? Like, I can't have a baby and keep making this just like every weekend DJ money. So I went to Rat Page's conference, just, again, being cool with people. LS1, who DJ for DMX, for Onyx, for a bunch of people, like just our DJ community. We outside talking. Nonchalant's manager walks up to LS and is like, yo, I need a DJ, but I need a DJ that's in DC because I don't want to have to sync a New York dude to her schedule. And he's like, yo, my man right here is nice. That's exactly how it happened. Exactly how it happened. The manager was like, yo, can I come see you? I brought him to the crib, did a little demo for him. He was like, I'm gonna call 9. That Friday, we're in Florida opening up for the Fugees.
There you go.
It was that fast. So it was like the preparation of doing the parties and knowing the music was what got you to that point. You know, at that point I was on my DJ, like just sharpness, everyday practice, you know, just on it. And the opportunity came when I was ready. And then what really, I'm never afraid to tell somebody, yo, I know how to do this. So it was her getting done with that. We do the whole Ready or Not tour, European leg, we're the opening act. We come home, time for her to make her second album. I tap her and I'm like, nah, you know how I know how to engineer. She was like, really? I was like, nah, I'm not just telling you I know like a little bit, like I study this. So she put me on as the engineer for her second album. And it was a double blessing. Number one, that was my first paid engineering session, but it's with my group. So all the nervousness of your first time in the hot chair, I don't care who you are, the very first time you sit in that chair and it's your job, you're nervous. So I worked out all my kinks with my group. Some of the beats is mine, some of the beats is my friend. We've broken all this out, stuff I wouldn't have known with my group. Second thing, Chucky Thompson was the executive producer of that album. That's where me and Chucky struck our relationship. That introduces me to the whole bad boy camp and all of that through him and through Derek. So it was, man, it was a stressful time of like, I'm about to have a baby, but then 96 was just that pivotal year of I had my first child, but I go on my first tour and it's sort of like my very first professional industry gig.
Right.
And I've been living off music
so
ever since.
Everything fell into place right at the right time.
Yeah.
But it was when you were in the most stressful time.
Yeah, but it was a lot of stress before that. And I'm definitely the dude that I don't care what it is. I'll do 3 jobs. I'll go pick up trash. I'll go, you know, I got that in my family. I don't care. You can do something. You're going to do something. You're not going to be this bum.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. So picking up from there, Chucky Thompson introduces you to the Bad Boy Camp.
Yeah. That, not only just that, Chucky was the first person to go, okay, Goo, this is the take-up reel, and this is the vocal reel. And sometimes we're not going to be able to fit all the Faith vocals on here. So I want you to bounce this down to a 2-track so that we can record the chorus on this one. Then we're going to do a blend. This is going to be the blend for the record. I'm going to do a blend of her chorus because she'll do 40 tracks, right? That becomes a 2-track here matched with this 2-track. Now she can do her vocals. Then we're going to take all of that and put that back on the music reel where it's spread out. Right. Chucky was giving me the techniques of how he wanted to work, which was sort of like the R&B techniques of how to get it. So people were amazed when I was flying hooks and using H3. I was like, this is all because I'm doing what Chucky asked me to do. That, and Chucky taught me how to live getting lump sum checks. The best thing he ever did. Of how to, no one ever does that.
So
how
you
do
had to learn how to pace your money.
Yes.
Because it wasn't coming in steady, week by week, bi-weekly.
You got a 22-year-old, well, by this time I'm 23, you might get a $50,000 check. So, you know, again, at 23, you think that's balling, like, you know what I'm saying? So you may go crazy. I went crazy my first couple checks, right? Went crazy. Chucky saw that and was like, look, when are you getting another one? You have no idea when you're getting the next one of those. Don't wild out. Pay your bills for this much ahead of time. Put this much to the side. You have a kid now. Put this to the side for the kid. Like literally, like cut it up like this so that you can exist. He's like, you'll be good for 4 or 5 months. And if you wilding out, if you always at the bar, if you always buying this new thing and then what are you gonna do? he taught me that lifestyle of like, how do you live? I have 4 kids at this point. My daughter's in college. She goes to American University. It's 25 racks per semester. If I hadn't been taught those lessons, I wouldn't know how to prepare myself for things like that, or what's important, or what lasts, or what things you can splurge on. Like Chucky also taught me that. Like every once in a while, yeah, just go make a dumb purchase, just to spoil yourself. Like, because you're so organized and you're keeping this all together, like, have fun. Don't forget to have fun too, you know?
Of
type
course.
of thing.
So, I mean, that's a brilliant case of somebody offering you the knowledge and giving you some mentorship. Where do you find in your career where you took the advantage of what you already knew and what you knew you could do and said, okay, I don't need to wait for this opportunity to happen. I'm going to make this one happen?
After Chuck, it was 99. I was in DC and I felt like I hit an apex. I had been DJing every club you could think of for the past 7 years. From 92 to 99, DC on lock. But I felt like I was moving like this on a plateau. Chucky's Chuck life was going down. You know, like it wasn't progressing as, oh, this is going to be a label that's going to be around here forever. So in 99, I had a conversation with him. I was like, man, I think I'm going to try my hand in New York. Like, it's either, back then it was LA, Tennessee, New York, right? If you want to be in the music business. I said, man, I'm going to go to New York to try this out because all the sessions is up there and I don't feel like they are as good as me when I'm watching these engineers work. So I packed my bags, packed my kid, take the mother, everything, moved to New Jersey because my family's from New Jersey. My mother's from there. I got help on that side and I'm going to go to New Jersey. I started working for Derek. Do the whole Mad Rapper project in 99, right? That's over. So now I'm like, what am I doing? What am I about to do? All right, I'm about to try my hand at running my own business, in essence, becoming a freelance engineer. I look around the industry and I go, it's only one young black dude that I even know that's doing this. His name was Doro, right? Only reason I knew him is because Mace used to shout him out on records. So I went around and I said, who manages him? Couldn't find the person. I'm like, and I feel like I'm one of those people that I know everybody. So where's my 7 degrees of separation to get to this person?
Doro's manager.
Somebody I know this person. I was just putting the feelers out. I'm calling managers, I'm calling all these people. Oh, yeah, I got his number, let me get back to you. I never got it. The girl who worked the front desk of Crazy Cat answered the phone, the receptionist, heard me in my, yo, I'm calling this one, I'm calling that one. She's like, Guru, I know his man. I said, what? You done heard me in here for 2 weeks going crazy. She hooks me up with this girl named L'Oreal, managed Doro. That was the big break. But I made that happen. I went out and I was seeking to find, like, my whole big thing was at that time the Aloe Pool had New York on lock. This was Tony Maserati, this was like Joe Quindy, this was all these guys. Puff was giving them so much. We would record stuff, but Puff would always go to them to mix. And I felt like, oh, we gotta break this Aloe Pool thing up. It was almost like feeling like Dora was like the Jackie Robinson and he had broke through the color barrier and now like, yo, let's go. I'm Satchel Paige, let's go. Like, so me putting that energy out, if I had put that energy out into the world, like I'm trying to find this person, that would have never happened. That, and then again, my biggest come up was at that time, people were like, what is this new Pro Tools thing? What is that? A lot of the older engineers were like, back then it was horrible. 16-bit, 44, hardly any plugins, slow, clunky, 8 tracks when it first came out. It was like, nobody wanted to touch it. I went to Guitar Center because I got all the homies, everybody that knows they homie that don't have a working gig, he worked at Guitar Center. All my homies was at Guitar Center. I went in there, took a DVD of Pro Tools, put it in their computer and sat there and took notes. In Guitar Center, hours like this, taking notes. I didn't want to buy I couldn't afford it. Right. That little $50 could go to my daughter. But here's all the information that you need. Okay, cool. You need some coffee, Goo? Nah, boom, headphones. In Guitar Center. So I went around town, and I'm like, I'm the Pro Tools engineer. Right.
So this is another example of where you made it happen.
Made it. You got to go for it. That my natural engineering thing is I like discovering things. I like figuring out how things work. This was another step where I saw where the industry was going early because you work in that field. So if I look at the computer and I go, we don't need tape anymore? Tape's $150 for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? You know how much money we spend? All I need is a hard drive? Incredible. I see, really? I can take this, put this in my room. All I gotta do is build a booth, and I don't need the studio. I saw that fast. Mm-hmm. I saw the evolution of the studios dropping, of engineers needed to know this. Like, that, going after that, I think was one of the biggest things, because that then took me around New York City so much faster and introduced me to so many different people. And I was really gangster in the system. I was the Pro Tools engineer. So basically all I had to do, if you had a session, I set up all your inputs, the drum mics, the Rhodes and everything, and I got paid $75 an hour to hit the spacebar and Apple. But I'm now in sessions with Questlove. I'm now in sessions with, whoever that would introduce me to all these other people. So those sort of things I think were monumental in terms of my progression in my career, because I would have never got to a Jay-Z if I hadn't gone through all these other steps. And then once I got I really got to Memphis Bleak through L'Oreal. And once I got to Bleak, me and Bleak just struck a chord, because he is one of those artists that was asking for the engineer/producer. Mm-hmm. So the very first session I had with him, he says his rhyme, and I'm like, stop the tape. What are you doing? Come here for a second. Take this word out. You can say this better. It sounds better if you move this around. This doesn't make sense. This makes no point. You're losing the point of the whole song right here. Take out these 2 lines, write this better, right? He had never had anybody do that. Vocal coach him. His rappers, I'm just saying my rhyme. No, like, you can edit your words too. So we go over that. He's like, I need him back. And we best of friends ever since. Jay comes in, sees this, and is like, what are you doing next month? I'm like, whatever you need me to be doing. That, all of those opportunities came because you're not scared to use your gift, or you've been in that situation a million times. So when you get to a quote unquote professional level, you're ready. You've gone through I've done parties on people's washers and dryers, and this doesn't work and that doesn't work. You break out the soldering gun and you get it. Like, being in the trenches. So now you're telling me I'm in a professional situation where I get an hour to sound check, and there's computerized EQs with my mic setting. This is lap of luxury, right? Because I've been through the trenches.
So the question is, you've been through the trenches, you've experienced the hardship and the stress, you've been saved by the grace of God in the moments of dire need.
Absolutely.
And everybody knows you now as a producer, a DJ, and a friend of many of the luminary artists of our time. How do you want to be remembered of all these things? And maybe it's something that hasn't happened yet. Well, how do you want to be remembered?
I just want to be remembered as somebody that helped people make great records. That's it. I very reluctantly have come in front of the camera because I want to teach kids. But I'm not in front of the camera because I want to be a star. On purpose for a lot of my career, was always behind the camera. I consider myself the coach, the star maker. I am Michael Jordan's trainer. Mm-hmm. I'm designing your workout. I look at your deficiencies and I'm like, okay, this is what I need to concentrate on. This is how I fix this. I look at artists like that. So it becomes a fun thing for me to play both sides of it. I completely get the creative side, and I get the things that creatives sometimes don't get on the business end. So I would like to be remembered as that, as the guy that helped people make great records. But from this standpoint, and this is the key, I am not here to make you what I think you should be. I will very blatantly ask you, where do you want to go? And I will make you the best you. Where do you want to go? When I work with MF Doom, I know where he wants to go. Also know where he don't want to go, which is sometimes more important. Right? Yeah. Absolutely, but mentally not even thinking about a radio song. It's not my audience. It's not what I do. I do this, and I do it really well. And if I do these specific things, I can show you how to maximize that audience, which I think he does to a great extent. a lot of times the people that understand that level of underground cannot flip and go, I want to take this artist all the way to top pop level. And I am not a hip hopper that shuns that. I think real talent should be taken to I want the biggest amount of people to listen to this song. Period. Let's go. I know all the tools to get us there. Now, there are some things that you're going to have to do here on this side to get there, because this is a whole competition game. You get what I mean? That's the thing that I take pride in, of playing the game, but trying to interject what I consider really good music. And I'm not the person that goes, oh, I don't like what music is. What am I not doing? How come his song got on there, my song not on there? Or the song that I think should be on there. Okay, how do I get it on there? Versus complaining about it. That's my biggest thing. That's what I want to be remembered as. It's just the guy that helped people get their music to the highest level they could. Whether or not that's mixing the music, whether or not that's producing for them, whether or not that's now taking on an executive role of putting out artists and, you know, having a record label. Whatever those things are, man, it's just getting great music out. And it's a really good time now because we have all the power. We can do whatever we want at any moment. When before we couldn't, we had to bow down to record labels or just to record a song cost money.
Yeah, I've had tremendous success with synchronization licensing for my music, and it could be a lot. Even the album cuts, the cuts that don't get out, people are actually. It's almost as if they're searching for something from Aloe Blacc, where maybe I guess my voice has become a sound for what they think could work, like a trustworthy voice for the product.
Yeah. No, they're in the meeting going, we need one of them Erykah Badu songs and we need one of them Aloe Blacc-ish songs.
Yeah. That really could be the deal. Because I don't even know how most of them come up. Like, how do they even hear this cut? We don't have no marketing on it, no promotion on it. But I feel like that moment with I Need a Dollar, it really opened my mind up. Like, okay, this is a new angle. It's a new way to make it work in the music business, with or without an album out.
Right. Right. So do you feel that's freed you? I kind of like to get people's take on, do you visualize things? I'm very much a visualizer. I think about and visually see myself doing something. I have to think about how I want my world to be and go out and make that. Do you visualize or say, this is where I want to be in the next 5 years, 10 years? I want my career to go here. These some of the places I don't want to touch. But do you sit down and visualize where you want, and do you want to go as far as you can, I guess I can say, to become the big, is that your goal, to become as big as possible?
I do have a grand visualization. I do visualize, I have a grand plan, I have an understanding of where I'd like my career to go, but I think I'm open to how I get there. It's about the purpose.
Okay.
When I had the opportunity to get signed to a major label, to Interscope, I thought to myself, like, this is my chance to carry on the torch of a Harry Belafonte, of Nina Simone, of Marvin Gaye, around what's going on. To be a musician, a singer who can carry a message and use that message for social good. So I read somewhere that Michael Jackson's charitable and philanthropic giving was north of 350 million. I said, this is a goal for me. If I can, in my lifetime, in my career, be as charitable or as philanthropic as Michael Jackson, then I know, and at the same time, keep the integrity of the music so that I can still sit on the shelf next to Al Green or Otis Redding, then I will have done myself a service, just, for my own ego and peace of mind as a musician, but I've done the world a service as a citizen of the globe. So yes, when I visualize it, it's like to the moon, okay, and beyond.
And does that does that in two ways affect your writing? And that's sort of where I was trying to go with the question. In terms of are you conscious of, I'm trying to write this radio or this record that will appeal to everyone, and I know that the format that I want this to be on is radio, right? Yeah. Do you try to write pop songs, or do you try to say, I hope someone takes this format that I'm doing and makes it popular? Right. Versus just writing whatever you want to write. Because I very much do sometimes have times where I'm like, I'm purposely doing a big song.
Yeah. See, I'm not precious with the idea of being an artist only. Mm. I'm very much still that strategy consultant, who got laid off. I'm very much still a business person. And because I have this goal of using my celebrity and my voice, my music for social good, I can justify the means. Right. And so when I'm writing songs, I think, I know this will never be a hit. And then I also think, okay, how can I make something that will hit in such a massive way that I can ride that next wave? Right. And then when I ride that next wave, which organizations can I take along with me? Like I'm trading emails with my a music video director in Kenya who's directing a music video about malaria. The narrative is about malaria, so that we can present it during World Mosquito Day and attach it to a new song that I want to release, so that, we can try to get awareness around these issues. Right. If I can make a hit, mm-hmm. and do the same thing, do a music video that's going to be a message music video, then I feel like, why not? Why not go and try to, bring as many people to the river to drink? Because
this next question is interesting, and I hope you understand the twist. A lot of times because I'm myself in the same, I love music that serves the same purpose, right? I also find sometimes that my artists that are concerned with things like that sometimes block themselves from writing records that aren't concerned with that. Do you find that constraining when people get to, and obviously now the world knows you, we all know you, and we know that's a part of who you are. It's sort of the common question of when he says, can I walk a righteous path holding a beer? Mm-hmm. Like, it's nothing wrong with me holding this beer, but if I'm known as the conscious rapper, just me having this beer or being in a strip club or writing a song about menage a trois may get looked at crazy because I'm supposed to be the revolutionary guy. Right. And it sometimes blocks them from writing really good songs or explaining the full capacity of human relationship.
I absolutely struggle with feeling as though I have the liberty to be 100% me in the marketplace. And I think that's, as a strategist, understanding that when you build an artist profile, people will expect consistency. And so they want that narrative to make sense over time. Right. I think it's about pacing yourself with those changes, and Andre 3000 gave us enough transactions and paced himself enough so that by the time Love Below came out, it was totally understandable for him. Right. We knew that that's where he was at. Right. We saw the growth. If it's an overnight thing, it becomes much more difficult. And so when you don't have enough of those transactions with your audience, they don't get a chance to see the growth and development. Right. We saw growth and development for Kanye from, through The Wire all the way to the most recent Pablo joints. We had that conversation with him in the media and through his music. We could see the evolution. I don't personally feel like I have enough transactions to overnight be the guy. I mean, I have 2 kids, for sure I have sex, you know what I'm saying? But I don't have enough transactions to be the guy to talk to my audience about that. I can talk to my audience about being a father. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And I think that interview with Shep, it was important. You see how Luther and Teddy were two different characters, 2 different artist profiles. Mm-hmm. I really think about that, and I try to be consistent.
Okay. That's dope.
But I still write whatever I want because I can give it to other artists.
Okay. And do you? I'll say this part from the opposite angle, right? Where sometimes you do that as writers so well that people are like, I only want that from that person. I.e., Mary's in a great relationship and has a really good time, and she's writing a happy song, and chicks are like, no, I don't. Where's it? Break up so you can write another crying song because I need your crying songs for my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, pun intended. Or I would wonder, like, what if the Neptunes did a really great up-tempo record for Sade? Will we be able to accept? You know what I mean? Like, has she ever wanted to just step out of Sweetback and just like, I want to rap, sing on some like up-tempo.
Dance, nightclub.
Yeah. We wouldn't accept it. Wow. You know what I mean? We just wouldn't. That's not who she is to us. So my question being, do you ever feel trapped by that? Like,
I definitely feel trapped by the, I want to say, the hegemony of audience expectations. I feel trapped by that, but I understand it, so I can work within it because my goal is beyond myself. I don't have to, I'm not doing it for me necessarily anymore. Okay. Like I can get all of my artistic itchings and cravings and interests, I can get them all done. They just might not go out to the public.
Okay.
So
and I think final question, where would you like to see R&B and soul music? Where would you say I can look at when we get to this point, or if I can get to this point, R&B, soul music, real music is in a healthy place for just the world and specifically this generation?
It felt best, R&B and soul music for me in my lifetime felt best when there were groups and singers like Blackstreet, when Teddy Riley was singing, when Aaliyah, rest in peace, it felt like there was real music going on and there was a culture around it. It felt like there was mutual respect between men and women. I feel like in the absence of the respect between the men and the women in the music, in the artistic expression, we really lose the essence of what R&B is. So where I'd like to see it go is for the female R&B artists to come back and to dominate in a way that changes the paradigm back to a mutual respect, because it would be, so long as we have this culture of macho-ness and degrading women in the music, I don't think it's going to be easy to have that feeling of R&B, we're all togetherness anymore.
Dope. It's weird. Without even hearing your answer a while back, I had tweeted, this generation of young men don't know how to talk to women because they don't play slow songs at their parties. And I was like, that's the moment. Not only is it the slow song, not only is it that you having to be a gentleman enough to ask somebody to dance in that manner to a slow song, most of the time you saying something in her ear while you're dancing, if this is your first time meeting this young lady. And this, as a 12-year-old, junior high school was probably my first time actually asking a young lady to dance in that manner. My kids' generation doesn't have slow songs they have no idea of ever going to a party and hearing slow songs. Yeah. So that part of it, I think, is a key point of balance of, as much as we don't want to admit it, music sets the feel and raises kids and sets what's okay. And being that we don't have real, I don't want to say don't have, we do have it. It's not in the forefront for this generation. It's not what's looked at as the end thing of real strong men. When you talk about the Teddys and the Luthers and like those men that are like, okay, I'm writing to a woman and I'm talking directly to you and this is how I speak to you and it's not whole bitch, come here, slut. You know, it's you know, I have to really talk to you in a certain way. And I, again, that example is great because you do see both sides of the spectrum where Teddy can be hypersexual and it's okay. And Luther can be hyper romantic and that's okay. And you get to see the whole zeitgeist change because of the way that these two men operate. Not to say you wanted to be them, but you wanted to be them in some form or fashion.